Hey everyone, Sparrow Spalding here, and do I have a good one for you today? We are going to talk about some of the reasons that a lot of narcissists are actually bisexual. And I can't believe that no one in the field is talking about this. It's a big problem. And the reason it's a big problem is because a lot of these men are married to heterosexual, unsuspecting women. Now, some of you might be thinking that the grandiose narcissists are more prone to being bisexual or homosexual versus the covert or the vulnerable narcissists, but I don't really think that that's the case. That's not the case in my experience, in my practice. And the reason for this is because narcissistic supply knows no bounds, right? So if a man, and we're talking about men here, but this could apply in some instances, perhaps to women. But if a man is getting attention, a narcissistic man, then he's getting attention, whether it's from another man or a woman, what have you. And again, I've run across this a lot in my practice. Now, sometimes you're going to have people who are closeted bisexuals or closeted gay, and it doesn't have much to do with narcissism. However, oftentimes it does, because if a man, for instance, is in a marriage and he's going outside of the marriage to get his needs met, or having same-sex relationships, and he's not sharing this information with his spouse, that really shows a deep sense of entitlement and an inherent selfishness that is pretty standard with your average narcissist. So a lot of times these do go hand in hand. But bottom line, it boils down to the narcissistic supply. So if they're getting attention, or if they see that person as a means to an end, right? So a lot of times you'll see this a lot with sociopaths as well, that they're going to not only get attention, but they're going to use that person. So, whether it's for money, for status, for a job, whatever the case, it's not going to really matter, because that person is a means to an end. So if they have to engage in a bisexual relationship or a homosexual relationship, even if they're, pretty inherently heterosexual, it's not going to matter. And the other reason that it really doesn't matter is because people who are personality disordered tend to not have boundaries, right? So their comfort zone is probably going to be much wider than the average person's comfort zone in some areas. So I'll give you an example. Years ago, I had a client in New York City, and he was a bodybuilder, and he had a girlfriend, but he did a lot of work in gay clubs on the side for money. And he said, well, it just really didn't bother him all that much. Men were staring at him or groping him or grabbing him, but he was making a lot of money. So it didn't really bother him, even though he wasn't gay, or he said he wasn't gay or bisexual. And so, this person did have a lot of signs of narcissism. And so it made perfect sense in my brain that, yeah, of course he would be happy going out here for money and attention and recognition, because his boundaries were quite diffuse. Makes sense? A lot of times people come across this information by accident, right? They accidentally find their spouse with somebody else, or they find messages, or they find, I had a client one time who found video through an email that popped up on her child's iPad. She had gone out of town, her husband had a gay affair, and the person he had the affair with was messaging saying, hey, when can we do this again? And sending video and photos. She was completely blindsided, by the way. She had no clue any of this was happening. She said she had a happy life, happy family, and this was happening. And by the way, because of the video and the picture, she could see that her husband was having unprotected sex. And she was devastated. I mean, absolutely devastated. So these things happen quite a bit. I never met her spouse, but safe to say, there probably was some narcissism there, right? Not even giving a care to her or the marriage or the family, any of that. So you're going to see this quite a bit. If this has happened to you, I'm so sorry. It is devastating. It is absolutely devastating. But keep in mind that you're going to see this with the narcissistic population, definitely with the sociopathic population. And if you're a clinician watching this, this is something that more clinicians do need to pay attention to, because it really slides under the radar and no one is talking about it. So bottom line, you're going to see this quite a bit with the personality disorders. Oh, and one last thing I wanted to mention, a lot of times these particular people are also grifters. So they kind of travel around, they move from town to town, preying on different people. And, you know, in one town they might be hetero, and in another town they might be gay. And it's just based on what's available to them, what their needs are, what their agenda is, and really important to pay attention to these kinds of things. So bottom line, a lot of people with personality disorders can cross the line between bisexuality, homosexuality, heterosexuality, because they're users and because they need that attention no matter what. So if you found this video helpful, like, share, and subscribe, and check out some of my other videos on narcissism. I am trying to really cover topics that no other clinician or no one else is covering, because these are real issues and we need to be talking about them. So as always, guys, hug yourself from me, and we'll see you next time.